I'm very honored to be part of the organization on that level. And it gives me even greater honor to turn the rest of this evening over to somebody that's really worked harder than probably most. An individual who was amongst the first, if not the first actually, to welcome me some years ago when I wandered into Station 33, a little bit, can I say, intimidated perhaps, like a lot of people are, until you get to know the people. And one individual came out of the crowd, and one individual shook my hand and said, "Welcome aboard." And I still remember that. Freezing cold night, about 11 o'clock in the evening, and I still remember how kind that gesture was. Such a simple thing. Somebody telling me that I was welcome to be part of the team. Didn't know whether I was up to it at that point, and now look at me. So I can, with even more heartfelt feelings, I can say that that individual's kindness actually was repeated every single day that I've seen him since. Can't say that for many people. He's one gentleman that is sharing of his time, sharing of his knowledge, and it's actually just as much fun to hang around with today as he was the first day I met him. So tonight we're here to celebrate 30 years of service of one individual, EMSR Bob Ross. Where do you start to even describe Bob Ross? Well, I'm not going to do that because I have used my managerial skills and will be delegating that task to somebody else. You really can't describe him because if you wrote it down in the script, nobody would believe it. Other than the fact that he's exactly the guy you want teaching you, he's exactly the guy you want telling you a funny story when your energy is lacking, and he's exactly the guy you want if you need a trumpet solo at 2 o'clock in the morning. I have here a note from Chief Barilla, EMS Chief, who could not make it tonight. Very kindly put into words something of what he feels about Bob's service for this time. Now I should frame this a little bit, this story, that Bob actually already achieved the milestone of milestones by achieving his 25th anniversary presentation that occurred, think about that, 5 years ago. At that time, certain items that were required to be actually part of that presentation, namely the shadow box, I think about the, what's this box called, Ian, tell me again?
Shadow box.
I'm thinking shadow box. Was not actually available, so he actually had to hold for the photo opportunity somebody else's. About 5 minutes after the ceremony happened, it was taken away from him, and he's never been anywhere near it since. It has taken that long now, actually a nice round 5 years, for us to hold him back, and we'll try, as we say in the movie business, take two is always better than take one. I will read this from Chief Barilla, and then I will ask Chief Readers, who I know has got something very interesting and enlightening to share with you about who Bob Ross in fact actually is. However, this is from Chief Barilla. Bob, you make a difference. I'm sorry, it's really a British accent. It makes it sound so much more important. Your great generosity and years of service have had a profound and lasting impact for the Pasadena Fire Department's Emergency Medical Reserve Organization, and indeed to the citizens and visitors of the city of Pasadena. Your willingness to share both your time and your talent by volunteering with the Pasadena EMSRs says a lot about you as a human being. You obviously to help others speaks to both your strength and quality of your character. When you volunteer, you are making a commitment to share that most precious of resources, your time, to make the life of those around you better. The fruits of your labor makes tangible impact, of course, but perhaps it is the fact that you are willing to share your time and talent, to lend a helping hand, and to show kindness and caring to those in need that makes the greatest difference in the lives of the individuals who are touched by your generosity. Words cannot adequately express the gratitude that I personally have and that the Pasadena Fire Department members wish to convey to you tonight. Please know that your volunteerism is recognized, it is appreciated, valued, and indeed cherished. We thank you and congratulate you on 30 years of service, Battalion Chief Michael F. Barilla. To the stage, Chief Reedus.
I feel a lot of pressure right now for some reason.
Well, I exited the wrong side, so.
You know, it's an honor for me to stand up here on behalf of the Pasadena Fire Department. Fire Chief Bert Washington couldn't be here tonight. As happens in Pasadena often, there's a confluence of events that occur, and tonight's that night. But I missed this last year, and I made a deal with the Fire Chief that I'm not going to miss it this year no matter what. So even though the world may be ending in the other political arenas, I made sure that I was here tonight, and I want to thank Chief Brown and Chief Bagan for being here, because I know how important this is to them, not just for me. I've had the honor and privilege of working alongside the EMSRs even before my arrival here at Pasadena. And for me to be part of this and to be part of this department with legends like Chief Fox and Chief Pinedo, who started this so many years ago, and to have this legacy continue on and be so effective and do such a great job for the community, it's overwhelming. I wear this patch proudly, the same one that you wear, and I have that same sense of pride that you do in what you do. I can't tell you how much we appreciate your efforts and what you do for us, because we're together in this. This is not the firefighters and the EMSRs. It's the fire department. You are part of the fire department, and we appreciate and embrace everything that you do. So don't ever think that you're anything other than one of us. Tonight we have the honor of recognizing Bob Ross, and I had an experience with Bob Ross. Just like most of us do.
There's a lawyer in the room.
Oh, you're getting fired. Forget it. Well, I had every once in a while when I came from San Gabriel, and I would come up and work at the Rose Bowl game. And I have a distinct memory of walking into a call somewhere near Tunnel 7 where there was this lovely lady who had a problem vomiting all over herself. And I thought, I don't want to touch this. And before I could even say I'm not going to touch this, in came Bob Ross, shouldered me and said, "I got it, Chief." And he got right in there and was embracing this young lady and helping her to the, what they call the vomitorium, away from my shoes. But what struck me about Bob Ross is I had met him earlier. And I said, "Hi, I'm Brian Frieders, nice to meet you." And he says, "Oh, hey, Chief, nice to meet you." I said, "Thank you very much for stop calling me Chief." "Okay, Chief, I'll stop calling you Chief." And he walked away, because he knew that it pissed me off. But he walked by my shoulder and kind of nudged me out of the way and took care of this young lady like it was his daughter. And I remember watching what he was doing, and I remember thinking, I really admire someone who's probably seen 5,000 of these same people, and he's treating her with the kindness and care that only you would expect a parent to do. And it stuck with me, and when I was asked to come here and say a few words about Bob Ross, it was easy. And even though I don't know him as well as all of you do, it's that caring spirit and that atmosphere, and I think you refer to, the pride of ownership that all of you carry is really, I'm so impressed. And for me to wear the patch that you're wearing is a privilege and an honor. I did ask for a couple of talking points that were kindly given to me about Bob Ross, and I'd like to share those with you if you don't mind. I don't like reading other people's stuff, but in this case it was written by a pretty smart dude, so maybe I'll do that. Bob Ross tends to defy easy description. Apart from being the only EMS reserve to have served continually for 30 years since joining in July of 1987, for the record 2 months after I graduated high school, he is also an accomplished professional musician, plays the trumpet, and has performed with many notable stars and bands. A physicist by training and a stand-up comedian by vocation, Bob is and continues to be the friendliest face of the EMS reserve, with a truly infectious desire to learn and teach emergency medicine. Bob is quite famous for literally being on the scene of incidents mere seconds after they happen. Out of uniform, he has come across more still alarms than when he was on duty. If something can happen, it indeed will happen in front of Bob Ross. Which is why he trains new reserve recruits at the Rose Bowl. Dispatch doesn't call Bob Ross, he calls them. Bob is the head of training for the reserve, and professionally is the set medic on the TV show Big Brother. Bob's dedication to the department speaks for itself, with just under 7,000 hours of volunteer service. Ladies and gentlemen, would you help me join me in welcoming Bob Ross to the podium?
said, thank you, Chief. Stop calling me Chief. I would learn by now. 30 years. Can you believe it? Obviously, I started when I was 5, so it's nice. The fire chief actually congratulated me, and I said, so, Chief, you gonna have a fire station after me? He says, actually, it's in the works. Really? I was just kidding. He said, no, it's in the works. It's the Bob Ross Memorial Station. Memorial. Never mind. No rush. That's okay. This all started when I was 6 years old. I had a sign on my bicycle, and I'd ride around the neighborhood bandaging people up even if they didn't need it. Which is kind of ironic because my dad was a mortician. His dad was a mortician. It was a family business, and I was the oldest boy. I was supposed to be a mortician. In fact, after I got some wonderful award, my dad put his arm around me and said, son, your mother and I are so proud of you and all the life-saving awards you received. But son, you're bad for business. Oh, Dad, that's the best compliment you could ever give me. In fact, when Dad was still alive, I used to tell people, I used to work for my dad. You do? Yeah, on a commission basis. I lost a patient last week, but I made $100. It was all good. Yes. So when I just got out of graduate school, I actually got hired by LA City Fire Department. And a week before my start date, Mayor Bradley put on a hiring freeze. And so that ended that abruptly. My music and comedy just kind of unfolded at that time, and which I love. And so I did that, toured all over. And it was 1986, when I was taking an EMT research class at UCLA, and firefighter paramedic J.J. Kakofka was one of the instructors. And he pulled me aside and he said, I think you'd be good for the fire department CMS Reserve. And I applied. It took me a year to get in, but little did I know how that was going to change my life. And for some of you, how it has changed yours, and I apologize. So, it really has been a dream come true, because I've always loved emergency medicine since I was young, and here's a chance to do it with a respected and great fire department. In fact, this is on the record, it's okay. But knowing what I know now about LA City Fire, I'm very grateful I didn't get hired. Because I got on with the best department, I think, in the country. And with being on the reserves, the flexible schedule, so I can still go on tour, do studio gigs, and work it. Love it. I've been part of some great saves, which I will never forget, life-changing. I even saved Fire Station 34 from burning down. Oh, Fire Station 34. So when I arrived at the station, the engine company and the rescue were out on a run, and I came in the station and I smelled smoke. Turns out there was a fire in the kitchen. And so I put it out without having to call Verdugo. And yes, it's always embarrassing when you get the address of your own station. That's us. And I've had funny things happen, which I love. Some of you have heard this story, but I've got to tell you. So it was a New Year's Eve, and we got a call about 15 minutes to midnight for a drug overdose on Colorado and Arroyo Parkway. And we got there at the time Colorado was already closed to traffic, so it was filled with pedestrians, and we couldn't find our patient. We finally see on the other side of the street, the sheriff's department, they're flagging us down. So we couldn't get the ambulance across the street. So we got the gurney, put the gear on it, went across the street. Well, the sheriff stopped us and said, hey guys, we've got to warn you, we don't know what drug she's on, but she has superhuman strength. And she did. And every time we went down to try and help her, she would throw a punch. So what's the first rule of emergency medicine? Pop quiz. Scene safety. Scene safety. So we figured, okay, we'll get her on the gurney. Each of us will hold down an extremity. We'll wheel her across Colorado to the ambulance, and then we can do some soft restraints for protect us so she doesn't hit us. So we're starting to go across Colorado. It's now midnight. People start yelling, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. She breaks my grip. She grabs my shirt. She yanks my head down and screams at the top of her lungs, kiss me! Excuse me? Kiss me now! I mean, I can't no-brainer, really, if you think about it. I said, man, I'm gonna do you the fire department, you're my patient, I can't kiss you. I said, kiss me! And literally, with both hands, I couldn't pry her hand off my shirt. I'm pulling as hard as I can. So I'm walking by the gurney like this. So we get to the ambulance, and now she's mad that I didn't kiss her. She lets go and she cold cocks me. Just bang! Like that. And then it went from kiss me to, I'm gonna kill you. Lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
So later on, Chief English pulled me aside. He said, Ross, I heard what happened. Yes, sir. You didn't kiss her, did you? No, sir. Oh, good, because that'll probably get on YouTube, and then we'd have a lot of explaining to do. So someone saw the box and was afraid that meant that I was retiring, and I'm happy to say that I'm not retiring, and in fact I'm looking forward to the next 30 years. Thank you so much.
The waiting part.
A couple of seconds, I'm going to ask Mark, Warren, and James Webberley to come up and offer a couple of words of encouragement for not a retirement, actually, because he's technically obligated for another 30 years. So, before that, we'll put everything in perspective for a minute or two.
Pictures.
Bob does fine. Part. Oh!
Only don't play taps to the patient.
James and Mark, if you'd like to come up. I know you're editing that story as you walk toward the car. You know that.
Well, Bob, as the founding member of the 30-year club, I'd like to welcome you as the new guy. Something you haven't been in quite a while. So when I was asked to say a few words about an hour and a half ago, I first started thinking, well, what do I want to say about Bob? Ben Austin said that there's a lawyer in the room, so I have to quickly change to what should I say about Bob.
Then we agreed to change back, right?
No.
I can take Steve outside.
So then my thought was, Bob. Did I catch it? You should use that. As was alluded to, I think Bob's responded to 2/3 of the full arrests at the Rose Bowl, most of whom have survived. You know what we call a firefighter who's first in on as many fires as Bob is on EMS calls? A potential arsonist. Yeah, I've always been a little concerned about Bob that way. But seriously, Bob has been a great friend. Bob has been an awesome EMT. I've served with Bob on the board. I've served under Bob on the board. I've served over on the board, which was a sobering thought when it hit me that I was responsible for Bob now. But Bob has been a constant in the reserve. And Bob has always been there when we needed him. Bob has always been there to step up when we were short on events. Bob has always been someone to take a leadership role in bringing in new people and helping get them acclimated. He's always been the friendly face of the reserve, whereas some might say I was the more stern voice of the reserve at times, to make the reserve a more welcoming place. And all I can say is 30-ish years ago, I'm glad who was ever on your oral board said yes. So thank you very much, Bob.
He has notes. I too showed up about an hour ago and got asked to say some things about Bob. And I can't say much that anyone else has already said, except El Torito. The thing about being with Bob is he's a call magnet. Oh, sorry. He, I guess what, he showed up, El Torito, and Bob says, starts sniffing the air, I think it was. He says, something's wrong. Goes out in the parking lot, sure enough, somebody had just gone down. So he tends to do that. They say he's the first one to show up. There's been times like that pastor, where he actually showed up before the guy fell. He said, I have a feeling there's going to be a call over here. Headed over there, and sure enough, as soon as he gets there, a guy drops right in front of him. So that's pretty impressive. I think that working, yeah, I know it's kind of creepy, but but the thing is, working with Bob has always been a blessing. He's an amazing medic, and he's an amazing person. One thing about Bob was he would disappear, and we start looking for it, and we'd step outside and listen. Sure enough, we'd find him in an RA playing scales on his horn. All I can say, he's been a great friend, a great medic, and an amazing addition to and part of the EMS Reserve. And I'm glad to turn over being the senior medic to you. And now I am the newbie of the other guys, so that's kind of nice. I get to work my way up again. But thank you, Bob, for all you've done and for all you're going to do in the future.
I like him.
Presentation. There was a time when I was a little bit younger than I am now, and I used to see these boxes that were handed out to people who put in years and years and years of service. And I was always curious, it's a nice little box, but what do you need a box for? People would say, it's a keepsake box. It's a box to keep all the magical things of your life. When you're a younger person, you look at that and you go, well, what do I need a box for? What am I going to put in there? Socks? For some reason, in the last 6 months, having seen the presentation, or the creation, I should say, of this box, now suddenly occurs to me that it's really quite something special to be able to have a box to put in memories that you have earned and worked for. And he's putting it down because he thinks I'm going to continue talking, but that was all I wanted to say. So I'd like to bring Bob up at this moment to receive his box of memories. Of course, we don't provide the memories inside the box, we only provide the vessel as such. But it is quite special, and if anyone's got memories of 30 years of monkey business, then Mr. Ross has himself. So give me a big welcome and a round of applause for Mr. Bob Ross.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Right, Bob didn't talk.
No, I did talk. Now, there was actually one other individual in the room that is perfectly positioned to do what I'm going to ask him to do next, when of course he finishes the really important text that he's sending out at this moment. There's only one person here that really embodies what it is to become a reserve and climb up the tree as well, to be a command officer of the fire department. So I can't think of anybody more appropriate at this time than to ask Chief Bagan to come up and make another presentation. Presentation that should have been made 5 years ago, but wasn't. And tonight I have the pleasure of saying that Chief Bagan, please award Mr. Bob Ross his just desserts.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's awesome.
Hold back up.
Oh, yes. Back up.
Stand by. Smile. Say cheese. Call me cheese. Yeah. Eat for me.
You don't want to know the story of how that badge got being behind that glass. It was actually only arrived from the foundry, literally 4 hours and 30 minutes ago. Yes, so FedEx came through. Believe me, the stress that I've had the last 24 hours, I do not want to relive. Anyway, without further ado, 6 minutes behind schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for a wonderful 2017 review. Thank you for the wonderful guests who came. Thank you to all your hard work. Let's have a great 2018. It's my pleasure to say this meeting is adjourned, and continue the night and have a lot of fun. Thank you very, very much.
All over.